Something that's also been a big talking point in the chess world recently is obviously Magnus Carlsen and FIDE, and it seems like there's like this, I don't know if we can call it a revolution, but definitely more and more players are taking Magnus's side. And what are your thoughts on the whole situation now, and how do you think it will actually end?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually a bit scared going into the Weissenhaus tournament, the freestyle tournament, because there was talk of war. There was talk of, I mean, I think Magnus was the one who mentioned the word war. There was talk of, like you say, revolution, some kind of players' union. And I've always been the kind of person who tries to avoid the drama, at least outwardly. I mean, I totally understand both sides. I mean, FIDE, they do feel the sense of duty. They want to protect the chess world, or what they see as kind of their domain, whereas the players want what's best for them. They want freedom. They want to be rewarded for their efforts. They want to have a clear, defined system that's fair. And so I see both sides. During Weissenhaus, the players gathered one evening, and I was actually spying on them after finishing commentary one day. They'd kind of gathered, and they had this like closed meeting behind locked doors, no cameras, nothing. And I heard that things were, ideas were thrown around, but ultimately it seems like for now they've chosen peace, and they've chosen to try and all get along. I don't know if it'll ever be one happy family, but at least short term,
sort of reminds me a bit about when City and Juventus and all the other big clubs tried to have their own Super League. Yeah. That would make sense and would be really fun for people to watch as well. I understand, like, the organization. They want to keep it as their own thing.
I mean, yeah, Magnus would be the Real Madrid, I guess. And
yeah.
I don't know who the Man City would be. Hikaru would be like Atletico Madrid, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, with all these Super Leagues and all these kind of elite tournaments, there's always going to be people knocking at the door trying to break through. And if it's a closed off little group, I don't know how long-term that would appeal. And I mean,
you need the outsiders, but I mean, yeah,
you need the newcomers.
But you have qualifiers here, and you can.
True. Yeah, I mean, as long as it's an open, like
semi-open,
semi-democratic system, then it could work. But I mean, as far as I can tell from the outside looking in, and I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but I think the young generation, they just want to get on with things. They want the World Championship cycle to continue as it is. They want to fight for that. They're very focused, determined on the chess. They want to avoid the politics. I think it's the slightly older, more experienced players now. I don't want to say Magnus is old. That makes us old. But, but I mean, Magnus has been around for a while. Hikaru, some others. I think it's Nepomniachtchi. It's those players who, because they've lived through like a lot of uncertainty in the chess world, they want to shake things up now and want to have some influence themselves on the future.
That's natural as well.
Yeah, and I guess it's understandable because, let's say, a player like Magnus, he's had a relationship to FIDE for so long, and I think he said at some point, this was just the tip of the iceberg, or he's had situations in the past where he hasn't been very happy with Sutovsky or Dvorkovich or FIDE in general. So do you think there's something to that as well, and that might be the case for other players, his age group?
Yeah, I think definitely. I will say that I think FIDE and Magnus have been very good for each other over the years. I know when Magnus walked away from the title, and actually even before he became world champion, there was some drama, and then a bit later. But yeah, I think all of those experiences, the fact that there have been ups and downs, that has affected things. Whereas maybe for the younger players, they haven't yet experienced those disappointing moments, or they haven't felt unfairly kind of used or targeted. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense because Sutovsky has been quite active on X recently, and and he's been listing, all the things FIDE does for young players and all the tournaments and the prize money and everything. So in that case, these young players, aged between, let's say, 14, 15 to 18, they've actually, reaped some of the benefits from what Sutovsky was mentioning, while the more experienced players, as you say, are in a different situation overall and are probably more fed up in certain ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult, right? There's always some perspective and there's always some unspoken truths, and I'm always slightly skeptical of things I see written on X, but but yeah, I mean, I think it just looks different from wherever you're standing.
But for me, what's been interesting is that this, let's say, conflict has been very open, and you know, Magnus and the freestyle organization have posted open letters on X and other platforms, and Sutovsky, as I mentioned, has been tweeting nonstop. It seems like last couple of months, and. Sutovsky seems very emotional, so sometimes it feels like he should have just had a timeout before starting to post some tweets, and I think at some point he also mentioned his score versus Magnus from when Magnus was like a kid.
Did he?
Yeah, and
that's hilarious.
That for me was just a little bit strange. Like you're the CEO of FIDE and you start like bragging about your score.
You ain't got shit on me.
It's definitely relevant. Like I think any chess player looks back and you're like, yeah, but I beat him once.
Yeah.
It's all ego. And we shouldn't forget, Sutovsky was like a top player himself. Yeah. He was European champion, 2700. Like
absolutely.
Since we're talking about him, I remember him from Gibraltar.
Yeah.
He is a great opera singer as well. Yeah, actually, and he played a game, like a fantastic game against Danny Gormally, your countryman, and where Danny said like, I was part of a masterpiece. I was the pencil and he was the Van Gogh.
Yeah, I mean, Sutovsky. I mean, I think all chess players, we are emotional by nature. We should be cold-blooded calculators where we just see the facts and just work things out logically. But I think we all get tempted. We all get biased in certain ways. We all have different styles. And I mean, the way that some people handle politics is very different from others. And I don't know if there's a right and wrong, but I can see why certain parties might be getting a bit upset about things. So we'll see. I mean, my dream is just that, I don't know, things are peaceful and that everyone's happy, and chess ultimately is the main focus for everyone. But I don't know, it might take a few years before that becomes reality.
And do you think this conflict will kind of continue throughout 2025? And Magnus have said now that he will probably not play in FIDE events, such as the World Cup,
that's
the Olympiad.
Yeah, the Olympiad. That's
World
really
Blitz.
my concern.
You're the team captain.
I would really want him. I mean, I'm gonna try my best to get him to at least play that.
You've got 1.5 years to convince him. The next Olympiad, 2026. Just get him round before that.
Yeah, at least like get him to speak to Dvorkovich and just make a deal just for that tournament. Or
drag Magnus
like
into a room with Arkady and Emil and just come on, the Olympiad comes first. But I mean, for a chess fan, I feel like that way these days. Like I just want to see Magnus play as many World Rapid and Blitzes as possible. Try and get as many titles as possible. That's the big miss for me.
Yeah,
I think he's won the World Cup now. I don't think he will kind of mind missing that too much. It's a month long. It's stressful.
It's classical chess.
It's really important that he continues to play the Rapid and Blitz.
World Rapid and Blitz.
So,
I mean, especially here in Norway, it's such a big event. It's such a
crazy big,
now.
And as we discussed many times in the past, I mean, it's part of his identity, right, to be the world champion in either classical Rapid or Blitz, and he's been a world champion since 2013, nonstop. And if he's not playing in December, he won't be the world champion anymore. Yeah. So that will also be a bit strange for him, I think, personally. Like it's part of his identity. But it's luckily it's 10 months away. Things might change, and hopefully we get to see Magnus play in December. Yeah.
Maybe by then freestyle will be a world championship, and then he can be like, I want.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But
maybe that's his plan.